This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
Vegas to kick off.
Welcome into the student section for Monday, December 17th. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating out there. He's the big man on campus. I am Drew Martin. Big man, welcome in. What's on your mind?
I'm doing well, Drew. How are you? Always good to chat with you about whatever we're talking about.
What, that's the thing. It's open forum today. Open mic night with big man on campus, college football, college basketball. I'm just looking at the SBR odds table, going to check out the chat box. Where do you want to go, big man? We got some bowl games this week. Is that where you want to start off?
Sure. We can do whatever you want, Drew. Doesn't matter to me.
All right, well, how was your weekend, man?
My weekend was good. It was rainy here, but yeah, overall it was fine. I continue to destroy the NFL, but I've had some bad beats in college basketball. But you know what, Drew? It is only December 17th. Be fine. How are you?
Yeah, we got a half a month left here, and it's a busy month. We got bowl week coming up to make up for any college football losses. I'm doing pretty good, man. I overall had a losing week, so a little bit down, but I'm excited for college basketball. I can feel it like getting into swing. It's not one of those sports that I usually do good in the beginning. I actually usually do good in the middle and the end the last couple of years, so I'm excited for that because I'm a little down off the start, but mostly concentrating on totals. Found a couple things to kind of like key gems, player injuries, trying to find change in terms of pace to win a couple totals bets. They haven't come in yet, big man, but I can feel it coming. So I'm optimistic, to say the least, big man.
Yeah, I would keep at it. I mean, you're pretty good with totals. I remember that from last year. Me, I don't do them as much. I kind of wait for conference play to get involved. Kind of figure out which teams are obviously pace-wise up there and can score from a perspective of from the 3-point line, free throw line, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, keep at it, Drew. You'll be fine.
Guys, we got bowl games this week. We got Northern Illinois UAB, a game I'm actually going to try to get to tomorrow night. Not sure if I will be able to, but that one's in Boca, 42.5 the total, UAB 2.5 in this one. The Mountain West kind of looked good. Utah State looked good. So one of the handicapping angles I try to do is see the teams that do good in the beginning of bowl season and look to kind of bet that conference later in the season, maybe get a point or two of value before the other bettors get in on it. Big man, have you ever kind of thought about going that method after the first Saturday here of bowl season?
No, I don't really like when people mention to me like, "Oh, the Mountain West is not doing good." Like, I don't really care about that because like all the teams are different. I mean, I don't think they really sit there and think, "Oh, well, our team our team in the conference did well, so maybe we'll do well too." I don't really care about that. I will say this though: this is I think this game is about as even as it gets. I mean, you look at kind of maybe things on the outside that can maybe give you a winner here. I like Childers a little bit more than I like Erdley, but it's a pretty much a toss-up because you like Northern Illinois' defense. Again, I mentioned I like their quarterback more than Erdley. I think they could shut down Spencer Brown, but the only thing that bothers me is, can Rod Carey win a bowl game? I mean, he has really struggled. I think that's also sometimes maybe a lazy way of looking at it. Those are different teams. They're all different preparation methods. This is a game where it's down in Boca. It's nice weather. Drew, you live in that area. If you're a 20, 21-year-old kid, Boca Raton is not exactly a place for those kids to hang out. I guess you can go hang out with, I know for me, Drew, I know Boca Raton is a good hangout for a lot of mob guys that are from up here. But I think if you're a young 20-year-old, I don't think Boca is going to be on the top of your list as far as hanging out. Now, if you're a young 20-year-old hood, you're hanging out with the mob guys and stuff, maybe you'll be there. But other than older people and stuff, I think it's actually a pretty good environment if you're a football team. There's not a ton to really get involved with from a nightlife scene. So I think Northern Illinois, to use that, will be kind of lazy. It's a different team with a different motivation. Both these teams, this should be a great game. I'm actually going to lean towards grabbing NIU on the money line. I think they're a better team. I think they play better competition. I think they've been a bit more prepared for it. I think they're going to get the job done here.
Yeah, big man. Do you know what Boca Raton means in Spanish?
I know ropa is clothing. I don't know what Boca Raton means. No, I don't. I'm guessing something to have to do with something older. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It means the mouth of the rat, and it's kind of a weird name for a city. I would explain it more as like a uppity place. It's a little pricey in that area. I definitely wouldn't use the word hood though. It's definitely nice. And
no. A hood, Drew, is where I live. A hood is someone that basically participates in faulty behavior. Someone that hangs out with undesirables and maybe does illegal activities. That's a hood.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with actually like a dangerous neighborhood or a.
Well, sure, that has a hood could be a bad neighborhood as well. But a hood would be like there's two different meanings. In one subset, a hood is someone that does stuff that maybe they shouldn't, maybe is kind of a low life, let's say. And the other meaning would be a hood is like a bad neighborhood. So, the hood there's the hood and a hood. Yeah, you follow?
Yeah, makes sense, man. And it's at FAU Stadium. I agree with you, Northern Illinois. Quarterback, I wouldn't give really an advantage to either one of them. I don't think either one of them is very good at all. The defense for Northern Illinois, I know, is really good. I think UAB is going to have a real tough time. I like your side here with Northern Illinois. I really like the under. It's just bowl games at low 40s. It doesn't take a lot to get there. I'm really struggling with a side or a total to recommend. But in the Wednesday nighter, big man, I like Ohio. The Ohio Bobcats. I've been looking to fade San Diego State for multiple weeks down the stretch here. I just think that SDSU is down. You can say the Mountain West is down, and there's an argument that it's actually not because the top teams are really good, but I do think the conference is down. San Diego State's one of those teams that definitely took a step back. I think talent-wise, motivational-wise, I don't know if I see a lot there. I think coaching, pretty even. So I like this Ohio Bobcats team on Wednesday night. Do you have any opinion on the Wednesday bowl game, big man?
Yeah, Drew, I think a lot of people are maybe – I don't think they're counting out San Diego State, but I think Rocky Long has his team right where maybe he wants them. They're getting Juwan Washington back. They're going to have him kind of towing the load here. The problem I have with that Ohio is I don't know if they can bother San Diego State because what we know about San Diego State is this. They're very good against the run. They're not very good against the pass. Ohio is very reliant on the run with Ouellette and Irons and even their quarterback, Nathan Rourke, which, if you know San Diego State, I mean, they've seen a running quarterback. They've saw Jordan Love. I mean, they faced players like that before. I just don't know if Ohio can bother them as much as one might think. I think the game's close. I would almost hope to wait for 3. Maybe on game day, this one gets pushed up and you can get a 3. But it's interesting because you have some interesting line movement here as well. I don't know. I'm kind of not ready to give up on the Aztecs. It's just, can they run the football effectively? I think one thing we found out with Ohio is at some points they struggle to get stopped. So I tell you what, I kind of am leading the Aztecs at this point.
Okay, difference there. That's what makes a market. We're seeing 2.5 or 3, depending where you shop. On SBR odds right now, Heritage showing 3 with juice, 2.5 pretty much everywhere else, the prevailing number. We got Marshall, South Florida on Thursday night. South Florida, as we know, 7-0 and then lost 5 straight down the stretch. Charlie Strong's group really struggled at the end of the season. Big man, that we see it every now and again. Teams that struggle down the stretch get some extra time off. Bowl season, they bounce back and do well. Also, teams continue down the bad trend. Could you see it going both ways, one way or the other here for this USF team?
Yeah, I think it could go, to me, probably all bad here. I mean, you look at I'm really a big fan of Doc Holliday as a coach. I think he's a terrific guy as far as getting his teams prepared. this is a very good defensive line, one that can stop the run. And I think that's going to make it difficult on South Florida here a little bit. Plus, we also throw into the fact that South Florida's at home. Maybe that I don't know how much that really goes here, though. I don't think that's going to be a big advantage overall. I guess they don't have to travel, but you almost, as a bowl team, you almost want to travel. I mean, is it really that fun to just stay home for a bowl game? I mean, is that fun to you? I don't know. I'm not a big Blake Barnett guy either. I just don't want to bet against Doc Holliday in a bowl game. I think he's only lost one time. There's a lot in showing that teams that are prepared correctly generally win bowls. The herd will be jacked up for this game. They'll be ready to go. I think they get the job done here.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a lot of good points. A lot of times I'd look to bet the stronger conference, AAC. But I agree with you. I think Doc Holliday and company will be ready to go. So I'd look towards Marshall on that one, too. We got FIU Toledo on Friday. 2 games on Friday, actually. Looks like FIU catching 664 the total. Toledo kind of fixed their quarterback issues a little bit towards the end of the season. Offense came on late. FIU, Butch Davis and company, hell of a season down there in Miami. Be interesting, this one. I'd look towards Toledo, though. FIU, I had some problems betting them. It seems like when I bet on them, they would lose. When I would bet against them, they would win. Big man, you got any quick thoughts, Toledo, FIU?
Yeah, I'm leaning over here, Drew. I mean, Toledo with Eli Peters or whoever it was, I mean, they were very good through the air. And you look at Florida International, 50th in the country in passing offense. Both of these groups, particularly Toledo, 105th against the pass. This is a game that generally features a lot of offense down in the Bahamas. One thing about bowl games, too, generally they're going to let the playbook very open. They're going to try things that they normally wouldn't do. That can lead to turnovers, good field position, defense generally. Drew, whether it's football or basketball or whatever, defense is generally a mindset. I'm not sure either of these teams have that defensive mindset. I saw FIU get destroyed by Florida Atlantic defensively. I'm one to think that both these teams get into the 30s and this finds its way over the 64 number. But I also will say this. I'm not sure I really understand why Toledo's a 6-point favorite. I don't. I think FIU's a better team. I like James Morgan a lot. I think they're a team that if I'm looking at these 4 games from a perspective of what teams can win outright, I think all 4 dogs could win. The lowest on the rank would be South Florida. I would probably put Toledo second. I think Northern Illinois and Toledo are very live dogs. Toledo, if I'm taking them here, I think they can win this game. FIU. I don't really know why Toledo's laying 6 here.
What would you make the number at if you were taking money, big man?
I would probably say. I mean, if you really wanted me to be, yeah. If you want me to be really honest, pick them. I don't really see where Toledo's that. I mean, 3 or 4 points better. There's no home field advantage here. They have a backup quarterback. Their defense is bad. I mean, I don't really see where they're a 6-point better team at all. I think this is a complete toss-up. So that's where I think there's a ton of value in FIU because when you're betting a game, it's where's the discrepancy in the line? If you make the number 3 or 4 and you're getting 6, obviously you're going to want to take the 6. I would make this number. Pick them. Seriously.
That FAU game, man, I still look back to that. It was a little close going into the fourth quarter, but the fourth quarter got away from them. Other than that, you're right. I mean, FIU had a hell of a season. I mean, they really did. They hung in there with the Big Ten Indiana team, went down against Miami, covered that game. I guess you could say it was backdoor either way. They lost to Marshall to end it, but it was a good game, 28-25. I'm with you. Butch Davis has done a hell of a job there. One of the more underrated jobs in the country, kind of getting overshadowed by Lane Kiffin. Actually, big man, that brings me to my next point. Did you see who won the Coach of the Year in college football?
I'd probably say Lincoln Riley.
No, it was Notre Dame's head coach, Brian Kelly. And I can't believe that Bill Clark didn't win for UAB. That seems ridiculous to me, that he wouldn't be the best coach.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, I mean, what do you see with – because, didn't he win last year? I would give it to him last year.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
wouldn't give
think
it.
he
I
deserves
don't think
that.
you give it to because like this year, you're another year forward, so you know getting to a bowl game this year is cool and all, but last year I thought it was a lot more interesting that he literally 2 years after the team was kind of taken off. I mean, there was no team, and he brought it back. I think that was a little bit more impressive, but um, you know, I don't hate Brian Kelly. I would have probably said you know someone else, but you know, hey, I mean they're undefeated, so good for him.
Big man, we got one more here on Friday. BYU, Western Michigan. I want no part of Western Michigan. Their quarterback was terrible down the stretch. 50 the total. But do you want to lay doubles with BYU here? They had a switch at the quarterback position as well. Kind of had a spark. Didn't necessarily, always go to the win column though. Would you still look to lay it here with BYU?
Uh, I haven't really decided on what I'm going to do here, but I know you and I looked at this game, a few weeks ago, and I'll be honest, Drew. I think this line is where it is for a reason. I think it's almost kind of telling you stuff. Western Michigan really never win bowl games. I think they're 1-7 all time. I think BYU's really had kind of a nice charge after getting a new quarterback. BYU's defense is terrific. It's motivated. You also look at BYU generally are pretty good in bowl games. There's not a lot of outside things to worry about there. Does Western Michigan figure out, offensively, they're not a good third down team. They have a backup quarterback who Caleb Ellaby was not good in the regular season, not at all. Also, keep in mind you got to go out to the West Coast, up into the mountains of Idaho, and you'll go to a town that can be a little bit alluring. I know people don't think Boise is a nightlife scene, but I've heard from certain players that have been in the college ranks that they said Boise was one of the tougher trips. You always see suspensions and people not playing. What's the unpredictability? One thing you know about BYU, Drew, you're not going to see any suspensions. And these kids are in bed by 7 o'clock and don't even drink coffee, or soda. So this is going to be again a distinct advantage. Plus, they're familiar with the rugged atmosphere. They play in Utah. Um, I think that's a lot of a leg up. Do I think they should be 12, 13-point favorites? Probably not. But I also think Western Michigan's pretty bad. I mean, what did Ellaby show you? Seriously. I mean, when John Wasink went out, did Ellaby give you anything? I mean, this defense has
No.
been terrible as well. I mean, all year this defense got absolutely hammered. Look at the last 5 games of the season. I mean, you gave up, 51 to Toledo, 59 to Ohio, you gave up 42 to Ball State without Riley Neal. Drew Plitt was the quarterback, Drew.
That
And
guy's
then,
not any good.
And then you beat Northern Illinois in a game that they didn't even need. So, I mean, not a lot of confidence here in this Western Michigan group. I think BYU kind of shuts them down.
So do I. I like BYU. I would look to lay it with them. Big man, what about, we got 4 Saturday games: Buffalo, Troy, Louisiana Tech, Hawaii, Houston, Army, Wake, Memphis. What's your kind of favorite game to go to here before we get to college basketball?
I think Wake Memphis is a very high scoring game. I think a lot of people maybe be turned off. I don't believe Henderson's playing, but I still think that just means more through the air. Jamie Newman I thought was a really good quarterback for Wake. Both defenses have major problems, but for me, Drew, the one that I'm looking forward to is Army and the Armed Forces Bowl. I think Houston's going to be really at a tough advantage in this game. You look at the fact that they really couldn't stop the run, and without Ed Oliver, I mean, they were pretty shocking without Ed Oliver. I think they're going to be really hamstrung on stopping that option. I mean, Army, as we know, I mean, they're going to try to go for 40 minutes possession in this game, and they can definitely probably get it, especially with an offense in Houston that's built to go quick. This is a good defense for Army, one of the best in the country. If it's me and I'm looking towards the side here, I'd totally be looking at Army. I think for them, they obviously have a distinct advantage as well, with not committing bad penalties, being prepared. All these are very good things when you're looking at a bowl game. Ed Oliver not playing, they have a backup quarterback. I think Houston's pretty much dead and buried headed in this game. It's going to be tough.
Big man, does it scare you, or how much does it scare you that the line in the market agrees with you, pushing Army from 3 to 3.5?
That doesn't scare me. I actually prefer that just because, I think a lot of the time with college, Drew, I do two things in football and in college college football and college basketball. I tend to go a little bit more with just like how I cap games with trends and stats and spots and things like that. In the pros, I look more to going against what the public wants to do. In this case, I think Army's the right side. I think they're the number should move that way. If the number would have went to 2.5 or just sat at 3 and not moved, that would worry me a little bit. I know the public's on Army. The line's moving the right way, and I think they're the right side from a schematic perspective. So that doesn't really bother me. That actually almost I
Okay.
like hearing.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that because I totally agree with your breakdown. I mean, I think Houston's going to have a big issues stopping the option attack and motivation. A lot of that, getting in the film room, really wanting to prepare well and do good in your bowl game. I think there's all kinds of question marks there for the Houston team. All of it kind of stockpiling on the Army side being the correct side in this. I'm with you. I like
Also,
Army -3. I still like it at 3.5.
and also, Drew, I mean, you look at Houston in that game against Memphis. Clayton Tune was not good at all. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. I mean, he completed 42% of his passes against Memphis.
Mm.
This is a big uphill climb here against a pretty good Army team. So take that for what it's worth.
Big man, I think I stand a little corrected. We got Raphael saying hello. Boca Raton is more like mouse mouth, not rat mouth. Just so you know.
Well,
I didn't want to lead you down the wrong path there.
I didn't think I'd sleep tonight knowing that. Thanks.
Yeah, and Raphael, he sounds like he might be a native Spanish speaker. So I would definitely go with what he's saying over what I say, because I'm kind of going off the hip here. With 18 months living in a Spanish-speaking country, I'm definitely not fluent in it.
Yeah, but you know a lot more than most. That's a good point by Kyle Jackson too. Stop the option attack, you have to be able to space correctly on defense. And it's not about, stopping the run. It's just about gap protection and making sure, there's certain gaps aren't open. And the edge is important. That's a great point by him. I mean, you saw once Ed Oliver went out against Memphis, they had a lot of issues. So, yeah, that's a good point by him.
What do you think of Ed Oliver not playing in the bowl game, big man?
Look, I got to tell you, I don't like Ed Oliver's behavior, frankly. I don't mind him not playing in the bowl game, but the way he acted towards the end of the season, I thought was a bit immature and a bit out of line to me. But
what was that when he had the jacket on and the coach asked him like, "Hey, that's for all the players that are playing," and he was like having a
no, it wasn't even that. It was more like him just like playing one half and then saying, "Oh, I don't really feel like playing anymore, so I'm not going to play in the second half." Like, I thought that was, like, way out of line. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like for him, he was never really interested anyway. And I do think that his draft stock will hurt a little. I don't think he's the number 1 pick. I don't think he's a top 5 pick, frankly. I would put him in the 6 to 10 range. That's likely where I will put him. If I'm if I'm looking for a defensive player, I'm looking at Nick Bosa. I'm looking at Josh Allen at Kentucky, Quinnen Williams down at Alabama. Even like a Greedy Williams. I'm looking at all those players. Rashawn Gary. Ed Oliver will be a top 10 pick, but I don't know that he's a top 3 pick.
What do you think of kind of the players not playing in bowl games overall, especially this Will Grier situation? What, he's not going to be quarterback for West Virginia. Any opinion there?
Yeah, and I think this adds to the growing reason of why do we still care so much about bowl games? Like, why don't we just mess it all up and just get to a playoff, like a beggar playoff, like change it all completely? It won't happen because of the money, but I don't know. Will Grier is interesting to me because Will Grier's not. While I think he's probably the second or third best quarterback, he's not a first round pick. I don't know. I feel like this would be a good way to continue to highlight himself as. And I think every game is important, but it's his decision. It's his body, it's his career. So, I don't hate anyone for doing it, but from a fan perspective, I would have liked to have seen them play another game for sure. And I think for him, he's not a first round pick to me, so I don't really know why he's really worried about sitting out. I think it's a good way for him to kind of showcase himself a little bit more.
Yeah, I heard Todd McShay say something about like evaluating college talent. I think he's actually really good at his job, so I take a lot of what he says into account. He says this will definitely hurt Will Grier because he's not a for sure first round pick, and in that situation, if you don't play in the bowl game, there's definitely question marks that come into that.
The only way I would sit out is if I was a top, a first round pick, basically.
10 pick.
I don't. Yeah, even that because. Like, Drew, you look at like the difference. The hard truth in the NFL, the NBA is a bit different because, even up to like the 30th pick in the NBA draft, if you're not like you're going to play every game because you're going to try to showcase, but you see a lot of guys that'll leave early in the NBA because the money is so big. You make a lot of money contract wise, but yeah, I don't really understand this decision by him. I don't understand a lot of decisions by some of these guys to go to the NFL. If you're not a first round pick, I don't really see the reason for it. But
yeah, I don't believe our second round picks is the money guaranteed. I think first round, you get your sign-in bonus and I believe a 4-year guaranteed contract. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if second and third rounders have any type of long-term guarantee. Do they? Do you know?
No, they don't. No, they don't. And the thing is, like for instance in the NBA, Drew, like a lot of people initially had a problem with, like, you look at some of the, like Villanova, for instance, a good example. Dante DiVincenzo. I personally would have stayed another year if I was DiVincenzo because I looked at his career at Villanova and I thought while he was very good in the tournament, I think he could have benefited from another year. He probably could have took Villanova to another Final Four. But the difference in money, for me, I thought was big enough. I mean, he ended up going around the 20th pick. He could have been a lottery pick next year. I thought for me, that would have been worth it. But then you look at the money. The difference between the 20th pick and the 12th pick or the 10th pick isn't that much money. It's only like $700,000 or $800,000, I believe. And you look at cashing in on the fact that his tournament was so good, it ended up making sense. But in the NFL, it's different because, as you said, if you're a first-round pick, you're going to get the guaranteed contract for 4 years and a signing bonus. In the NBA, it's a bit different, but at the back end, you might get a lot more money. So, yeah, I don't know about Will Grier. I don't know that he's definitely not a first-round pick.
Christopher Carter in the chat box saying he's going in the first round. Guys question him there. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think with this decision.
There's 3 quarterbacks that are going in the first round. Locke, Herbert, and I could see Haskins, but no one else.
Gosh, it's not a strong quarterback class. I mean, all of those guys, like Drew Lock, I would watch him play sometimes, and I'm like, this guy's the best. Man, there was other years where there was a lot higher ceiling, so to say. Big man. I wasn't that impressed with really any of those 3 guys. Even Herbert out west, he would have some games.
I mean, you look at last year. I mean, it was such a great class. I mean, you look at Darnold, Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I mean, Josh Rosen. There were 5 quarterbacks, taken in the first round. I mean, even look at some of the fringe guys like a Mason Rudolph, who maybe down the road will play at Pittsburgh, maybe. But yeah, I mean, the class this year is not strong. Not at all. You're going to have to definitely try to find, find your guys. An interesting guy, Drew, is a guy that no one really talk about. But I know if you're an FCS guy, maybe you look at a guy like Easton Stick from North Dakota State. I mean, we all know Carson Wentz coming from there. He's in his senior season. A guy like that, I'd wonder how he is looked at the next level. And obviously, as the season gets over, I try to do the first two rounds of the draft, and I'll obviously kind of trying to make that look. But you look at Stick. I mean, he's more of a dual threat quarterback. A guy that can kind of play in this new age NFL. So yeah, it's not a great draft. You're gonna have to obviously look outside the box, or maybe wait till Tua Tagovailoa is available next year.
Yeah, maybe just pass up it and go for a tanking year again. Comment in the chat box, big man. We got Baker Mayfield. You think he helps out the Big 12? And also Patrick Mahomes. I mean, two guys that are having somewhat success in the NFL, to say the least. You think that could be a plus moving forward for Big 12 quarterbacks?
Well, yeah. I mean, because you look, Drew. At the point of the matter is, up until this year, there's barely been very much no success from the NFL as far as Big 12 players. I mean, there are very few, especially from the quarterback position. I'm not sure that there are any. I mean, other than Brandon Weeden, Colt McCoy. I mean, that's what you have basically from the Big 12. Obviously, at some point you're going to strike gold, and you may have struck gold here. But Drew, Kyler Murray's not going to the NFL, so we don't have to worry about him. Will Grier, I think, is probably a glorified backup. I will say though, I think Will Grier is actually a pretty good player. I wonder about his size though in the NFL. I don't know. I mean, other than that, is there much out there? There's quarterbacks at Texas Tech. I mean, none of them. Maybe Allen. What's the kid's name? The kid that always had the collapsed lung. Maybe him. I mean, he's got some prospects.
Yeah, he's so young though.
Yeah, I mean, there's right now.
You bring up some good points. Big man, the like recency. Yeah, these two guys have come from the Big 12 and done very well. But you're right. I mean, over the last 7-8 years, it's tough to come up with a good Big 12 quarterback that's done well. I mean, Sam Bradford would be one of the better ones, and he hasn't had much success at all.
There really are none. I mean, with the exception of, you look at this group from a whole. I mean, the Big 12 as a whole. There's not a lot of talented players in the NFL from the Big 12. I mean, you look at like Danny Amendola, pretty solid player.
Yeah.
You look kind of down the rung. I mean, I guess there are a few, a couple of glorified players, but all in all, it's a pretty bad league from a talent perspective.
Big man, you want to move on to some college basketball?
Sure, whatever you want to do.
All right, Arizona State, Vanderbilt tonight. We got 54 now. The total 1.5. Arizona State, 1.5 or 1, depending where you shop. Any opinion here on Pac-12 SEC matchup?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty tough spot for Arizona State, but I also think from the perspective of Vanderbilt, don't want to get involved with a team that is without their best player, Darius Garland, for the rest of the season. I was quite high on Vanderbilt coming into the year, and they had looked good. They were kind of winning games and doing some good things. They have a good coach, but Garland going down hurts. But you look at Arizona State, 2 straight road games here. This is a tough spot. Vandy, a tough place to play, and you're getting a team in here that is pretty strong offensively, Vandy. People want to think that Arizona State's this really good team, and they kind of remember last year, but all in all, they're just kind of an average team. The one thing, though, that I'm worried about in this game from a Vanderbilt perspective is Arizona State very good on the glass. If Vanderbilt can kind of withstand some of that, they're a better team to me overall. I think the guard play is pretty good. I like Shatu down low, but Luguentz Dort has become really a great player for Arizona State. But they have a lot of really good guards, and that's really it. Can they get to the line? Can they make their foul shots? Can they become efficient? Because Vanderbilt's a pretty good team. They're at home. Arizona State's off this a second road game in a row. It's a tough game. Toss-up wise, I kind of want to lean Vandy, though. I think they're the better overall team, and I think they're well coached and have that home advantage in this one. So I kind of lean with the Commodores here.
And big man, just quickly, do you have any opinion on the total 154.5?
Yeah, you look at Arizona State; they're very good pace wise. Vanderbilt, for that matter, is actually not too bad themselves. Very good as far as Vanderbilt is pretty efficient quickly. They go quick, they make decisions quickly, and they're pretty good on an offensive standpoint. If it's around 150-ish, I could see it getting over. I think it could be right around the number, to be honest. I think it's a good number. You look at that game for Arizona State over the weekend against Georgia. I mean, I think it fell right on the number of 150. Both these teams, decent foul shooting teams. Tempo will be there for you. I would think it'd get into the 150s for sure.
Okay, I think both teams would struggle from the foul line. I'm having trouble pulling it up, but and Vanderbilt's best player just went down, top scorer, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're at 67 and 70%. I mean, he didn't just go down. They've been without him for a couple days, or a couple games. I'm sorry. He didn't play. He hasn't played since November 27th. So they played 3 games without him, winning 2 and then losing the 1 at NC State. But keep in mind, the 2 games they won were against Savannah State, which we talked about them at length. Last time we talked about them, we were giving Wisconsin out, and then Middle Tennessee, who have major offensive problems. So this will be a test for them, but they're at home and they're getting Arizona State at the right time.
And big man, hats off to you. You won that Wisconsin one, but they won by 40, I think, and we bet it at 36, I believe, right? So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that, man.
Yeah, it was a winner. No problem.
I'm having trouble pulling up YouTube. I don't know if you are. But anything we need to get to in the chat box?
No, it's pretty much just people commenting on stuff that we're talking about. People talking about some of the somebody likes the under, which he's talking about depth perception. I don't think Drew. I don't think depth perception is important. I mean, I know it's kind of a weird court there, but I think the pace will be there for these two teams. The rest of the card, Drew, is overall not great. I mean, I think there's some decent spots here. Maybe Ball State. The problem that I have with Ball State, they're a 1-point favorite on the road, which generally doesn't work out. Generally, it's a big public side, and it doesn't work out from a betting perspective a lot of the time. Valpo's a sneaky opponent. Ball State has really every advantage in this game. I think they can really bother Vandy down low. Vandy has a guy named he's actually, Drew, a guy that I'm sure you'll remember, Rick Smits. Do you remember Rick Smits? He played for the Indiana Pacers. His son actually plays on Valpo, Derek Smits, and he's a decent player, but he's one of the only players they have on the block, which is a concern. You look at Ball State; their basic goal is to get the ball inside to their bigs. They have a guy named Trey Moses. They have a kid named Taylor Parsons that kind of runs the guard position, and the main goal is to get the ball to those guys down low in Moses and KJ Walton. So, for me, if you can get him in, to foul trouble maybe, and you have only one real rim protector, it could be a long night for Valpo. I don't think that they get the job done. The only thing that's keeping me off is just the spot. It's not a spot that I'm interested in a lot of the time. Laying a point on the road, it's generally a public side, and it's not a situation that normally wins a lot of the time. So, that's what's kind of maybe keeping me off that game. A couple other smaller schools. I think Florida A&M, Drew, there's an interesting game for them tonight. They're at Utah. I think they can cover this game, honestly. I don't think they're 20 points worse. They're actually okay, and they played okay this year. The thing for me, though, Drew, is you look at the scheduling spot for them here. They play tonight, Drew, and then they play tomorrow night in Oregon. Really tough.
All right.
It's a tough spot here.
Is that an added game tomorrow? Do you know?
It will be an added game. And it's going to be a spot where I'd have to imagine Oregon is getting excited for, because you look at Oregon, it's kind of been a tough start to the season, but they've won 3 in a row. You look at the win over the weekend. They got Lewis King back. He's starting to give them some minutes. They're prized recruit. They're starting to win some games here, and they have a game coming up where it's kind of a good spot for them. I mean, this team's coming off back-to-backs in college are unheard of. They only really happen against the MEAC and SWAC. This is tough. And I'm going to go ahead and guess, Drew, you're going to see a much better effort here. This is an Oregon team that lost to Texas Southern earlier this year. Okay, so I'd expect a much better outing here, especially when you're catching a team off of a back-to-back, something you just don't see very often.
Yeah, that's a great find by you, big man. And you're right, Salt Lake City to Eugene, that's not down the road. This is a tough ask. It's going to be, a tough night of sleep for the Rattlers from Florida A&M. Big man, let me ask you a handicapping question here. College basketball and everyday sport going down the line. How did you find that? Right there, what you just said, this Florida A&M fade possibility tomorrow night. How did you come across that?
It's funny you say that. I actually took a night, Drew. It was, I don't know, it was a random Saturday night like 2 weeks ago. And I literally just sat here and went through every MEAC and SWAC team, and I made this list. And I wrote them all down and just kind of have it here to reference.
And on your list, that's a hell of a list, by the way. You could probably sell that list for some money. Is it just the scheduling spots that you're going up against, or just like little notes in your head? What's on that list?
No, I'm really just going over, like, I pick each SWAC school. Like, and I will admit, the SWAC schools that I did leave out were like the top 3 who actually play okay, like Texas Southern and Grambling, Alabama State even. I kind of focused on the bottom teams, and I just kind of wrote anytime they're playing a decent mid-major or Power 5 team, and then kind of every day just going down the list and seeing if there's one. And a lot of it's memory. Like, I knew Utah and Oregon were going to play Florida A&M back to back here, but all this stuff is off the top of my head because I just really look at the thing and say, oh, okay, Coppin is playing Houston tonight. Okay, well, that's a spot I want to isolate and see what the number is. So you're making lists like this is good to know. And, it's kind of making a mental note in your head, down the road of, like, Drew, for instance, another thing I did was before the season started, I went through, there's a site that tracks every transfer made in college basketball, every one. And I literally wrote every one down of note that I need. So I don't have to go and look this stuff up. I can kind of just study and go over it every day. And when I read it out loud, so I look up and I see, Nazir Bostic, who played at Penn State. I can make a note that he's now at St. Peter's, but he's out for a year, the transfer rule. So, just knowing this stuff, personnel and stuff like that, and writing it down is help, and seeing who's back and who's gone. And, all that stuff is important. And that's more of what handicapping is. A lot of it is just doing mental checks and finding out where games are and who's playing and that kind of stuff.
And also, thank you for sharing that, big man, because that's a lot of stuff that goes towards winning. That stuff will start to add up over a season. Organizational, if I could add that word in, being organized and being ahead of it, like you're already ready for tomorrow night. That stuff starts to pay off. I noticed that from working with Pete Loshak every day when I was down in Costa Rica. Whenever I would ask him, because he'd be like, "Oh, I'm having a good season," and this sport. I'd be like, "Why are you having a good season?" He'd be like, "I'm organized this year," and it was like a trend. Do you notice that as well?
Yeah, I think if you do, like, a lot of people will say, well, just because a lot of stuff doesn't mean you're going to win. But I think over the course of the season, I don't look at college basketball as like a 1 month or 2 month thing. It's literally a 6 month thing where from November to April, I have to try to make money through that point. So when I look at my record right now at 8-15, I'm not that worried about it because I know for me, long term, I'm going to be way ahead of the curve because most people, Drew, aren't going to bet college basketball until maybe, after Christmas or whatever. Plus, I know eventually conference tournaments will come back and, all this stuff is done ahead of time. I'm always, Drew, thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. It's from when I was a kid. I used to remember when I was younger, I would ask my mom what we're having for dinner a week from now or what we're doing a week from now because my mind is always 2 steps ahead of stuff. Like when something happens, I'm almost thinking of, okay, what do we do at the end then? I'm always mapping that stuff out of my head. So like if I go to the movies, Joe, my first thought is when I sit down at the movie theater, okay, I'm here. Okay, I got a girl next to me. Okay, if something were to happen, where do I go? I'm always thinking about stuff like that in my head. It's just the way I'm programmed. And I'm always thinking ahead. So for me, with college basketball, I want to be ready for this because I know this is a profitable way to beat teams. So now that we're having it, we're in the mouth of that season. You're getting these teams at the end of non-conference schedules, and they are beaten up. Your Florida A&Ms, your Savannah States. Keep in mind, Drew, the 22nd. I'm already ready for it. Savannah State has Iowa. Okay, I've literally mastered Savannah State. I know everything about them. Iowa, that total, I was going to score 100 points. Okay, it's just a foregone conclusion. I've given two opinions on South Dakota State or on Savannah State, and both have been dead on the money. And you look at in these games against competition, right? So Savannah State's going to play 4 Power 5 teams, or 3 Power 5 teams and 1 non-P5. They gave up 120 to Vandy, 139 to South Dakota State, 102 to Wisconsin, and they're going to play an Iowa team that is very much quick, pace-wise, and gets up the court. I mean, that total is going to be 175 probably, and I'm probably going to lay it because Iowa is going to score 100, probably 110, and I'm looking ahead. I already know when that game is, So, another spot. Some of these are already passed, but just writing stuff down, it can really help.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, I just go, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with all of, the bets I'm looking to place just because the college basketball card is so big that if you wake up at, 8 a.m. or whenever you wake up and you start then, you're going to be way behind. The market's going to move. You're going to miss the information that you have found. You're going to be late pretty much.
And again, for me, I don't know about you, but like Drew, I've talked to you. I have a girl that I talk to. She doesn't live. She lives in Philly. I live west of the sea, so I see her once a week right now. So for me,
that's kind of
I'll see her Saturday. I'll take her to my parents have a Christmas party. I'll take her to that, or whatever. And every other time, I do a show here at SBR until 10 every night, and then I'm literally got nothing to do. So most people would say okay, I'm gonna go watch TV or I'm gonna go play poker or whatever you're going to do. And there are nights I will do that, but a lot of the nights are me sitting at this computer going through this stuff. When I'm looking for a game to watch, I'm going to try to look for a game where maybe I haven't seen that team play because all this stuff will pay massive dividends at the end of the season when there's that 2 or 3 week conference tournament run where these teams are going to be lined again. And you can remember back to, okay, I know Savannah State, or I know that, all these teams. So it's putting in the work and trying to master it is kind of interesting. So yeah, I kind of, when other people are just dilly-dallying around, I try to find keep myself busy,
Absolutely, big man. I mean, I was right on board with you, man. Interesting stuff. Thank you for throwing all that out. We are coming up against it time-wise, and I don't have access to the chat box. Is there anything we need to kind of hit on to get back to the people out there?
Yeah, people are asking about the Montana game tonight. Okay. I've been a little disappointed with Montana. I thought they would. Now again, I think for Montana, the goal of a team like Montana is to gain good experience, because the point of the matter is the only thing that matters for the Grizzlies is can they win their conference and go to the tournament. That's all they care about. They don't care about losing to Miami of Ohio or Georgia State in the non-conference, because when you're a team like Montana, your non-conference schedule doesn't mean anything. It's very rare that you're going to get an at-large bid if you're Montana. It's not going to happen. So your goal is to get valuable experience, try hard, and you're facing a North Dakota State team tonight that is not in your conference, and you got to lay double digits to. Okay, that's not ideal to me. You also have a team that in North Dakota State that shoots a lot of threes. I think they're top 7 in 3-point attempts. So you're really just going to guess on can they make their shots or not. It's a tough handicap because you're facing a Montana team that isn't very good guarding the 3-point line, Drew. They're allowing 41%, not ideal. So for me in the game like this, it's not when I really get involved because I don't really see the reasoning that Montana doesn't really care much about this game. And Now, will they want to win? Sure, but in retrospect, Drew, for Montana, every game until conference play means very little, really.
Makes a lot of sense. So use that in your corner, in your handicap. Big man, if there's nothing else in the chat box, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
quick. I just think you have to, because, at the end of the day, like, Montana's not going to get an at-large. Like, their schedule's not good enough, and they're not going to get an at-large. It's not going to happen. Do I think they care about a game like Creighton? Sure. But a Monday night game against North Dakota State that, whether you win or lose, doesn't matter. Now you got to lay double digits. I don't know. That doesn't really give me a lot of confidence.
Big man, can we end it with the show best bet? Because I'll go on board if you say yes. As far as we'll use the BOL opener for tomorrow's Florida A&M at Oregon. Just take the Ducks blindly.
I'm going to tell you right now, I think the line will be 27, probably, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Which I think for me is probably ideal. Because to me, I don't think this line is high enough. Like, this is a very difficult thing to do. It's difficult for professionals to do it. This is a team that, look, for, in all intents and purposes, I mean, they're literally being, slaved out by their institution. They don't get anything out of it. The only people that make money are the institutions for the pay for play games. I mean, you look at their game, Drew. They played the 9 against Georgia Tech in Georgia Tech, and they lost 73-40.
Well, how good is Georgia Tech compared to Oregon?
I don't think it's a comparison. I think Oregon. I mean, Georgia Tech's a good defensive team, but I think on a neutral court, I would probably list Oregon as a 14-point favorite in that game. Like, Oregon is healthy again. It's just a really bad spot. I mean, there's a reason you don't see back-to-backs in college, because it's almost like out of it's amazing. You would never do it. You're literally going from Utah to Oregon in a 16-hour period after you played. And these
after I'm guessing, did they come from Tallahassee last night, the night before? Because they weren't spending extra money to have multiple days in a hotel room in Salt Lake City.
Exactly. So my guess is they traveled yesterday. They got there like last night probably. So they do their night last night. This morning they're gonna go play the game tonight, right after the game. And I remember last year reading these horror stories from these teams, like, where this team doesn't have like a private jet. Okay, like,
no.
And I'm actually gonna, after the show, I'm gonna look in and find somebody that writes on them and find what their schedule is, because this is a commercial flight to, where is Oregon's in Eugene? They don't have an
Eugene,
airport.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and this is what's so great. This is what I love about handicap. This stuff right here, where I literally have to go and I have to use my geography, because I'm a professional geographer and I'm the king of geography. I know a commercial flight, Drew. I'm gonna have to fly in probably to Portland.
Portland, and it's not that far of a bus ride, because I've done this before.
So you're going to go I-5
Corvallis
south.
and Eugene are near each other, and they're not too far.
So I get in. Let's say I leave last night. I get in at early in the morning. I mean, they might have even flown in. They might fly in tomorrow morning, maybe.
Maybe.
That's tough, man. For a team that's like bottom 20 in the country to do at the end of the season. Christmas is in what, 7-8 days? You still have to. It's just not ideal, man. I mean,
okay, so what if it opens up 36.5? Would you still look Oregon?
Well, it's not going to open 36.5. I would guarantee it's probably 27. Like that. That's where I would put it. Like,
and you think the market will jump on this? Is this like a moving line that you should get the BOL opener?
Well, yeah, I'd want to bet it quickly, because it's the lowest. It's only going to go up, but like, there are not going to be a lot of people clamoring to bet this. That's why, like, I love to keep a lot of these secrets to myself and to maybe just people that I deal with, just because most people don't know anything about this stuff. Most people don't have long lists of where Florida A&M's playing in December. Nobody cares. This is where, for me, I want to find things like this, and I think these are beneficial. Now, if you're a sharp bettor, I'm sure you already know about this, but I think for me, as long as it's not above 35, I'm gonna definitely be playing.
Big man, let's make that the best bet then, because I'm jumping on board with you. I'm going to bet it personally. I don't have a line out for it anywhere because it's an added game on tomorrow's card, but BOL should be out with it at some point. A couple hours before tip-off? Is that about right, big man?
Yeah. In fact, Five Dimes will probably have it in the morning. Like, they'll probably have it up in the morning. That's normally what they do.
But
they're normally quick.
They're minus 120, though. They're going to charge you that extra 10 cents, right?
I guess it's all about, do you want to pay to get the line earlier? But I don't think this line's not one of those, like, this is an added game. It's not going to have a ton of movement on it. This isn't like Drew, you'll see a lot of movement in, like, let's say like Mercer or like, at Georgia Southern. Let's say they go play Hiwassee College, which is like a Division III school. Those lines will move a lot. Like, they'll move like from 24 to 34. Like, they'll move a ton because one bet will move those numbers. But a game like this, I don't think we'll see a ton of.
All right, big man. I thought it was a good show. A lot of fascinating stuff. And guys, stay tuned to the SBR schedule over the holidays here. Big man and I should have a show coming out on the SBR website, going over just college basketball in general. I believe it will be a weekly or daily show, so stay tuned for information on that, where we're just going to be going over college basketball. Obviously, the shifting with right side of campus, all that kind of stuff, and student section part of the football betting hour, but we'll definitely have something to do with college basketball betting as well going forward. But Big Man, anything else you want to say before we shut this down?
Yeah, real quick, somebody's mentioning Rider, Washington State. I think if you would have told me Rider was about a pick'em game against Washington State, I'd probably tell you you're crazy. But Washington State are bad. Okay, they're a bad team. They don't play defense, and this is a big trip for Rider, a long trip, New Jersey to Washington, long trip. They're the second worst foul shooting team in the country, Rider. It wouldn't be a game I'd be interested in. Too many things on the outside here. All
right. Well, we're liking Florida A&M tomorrow, or not liking them, looking to fade them against Oregon. Yeah, like an Oregon Ducks tomorrow night.
I'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see what their. I'll be interested to see what their effort is tonight, because I do think I don't think they're 21 points worse than Utah. Utah's not great. I'll be interested to see what their effort is tonight. If their effort's bad tonight, it's not going to be any better tomorrow either. So it's only going to get worse for that. So, look at what they did last year in these spots, because they did the same thing last year. So keep that for what it's worth.
All right. He's the big man on campus. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau, recommending Oregon. Looks like around minus 27 or so. I'm going to jump on it as well at the opener. I'm Drew Martin. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, best of luck with your bets, and we will be back on Thursday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Best of luck.
Thank you.